Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Now, Alexander Lukashenko has once again stepped into the spotlight with a familiar message, loud, dramatic, and straight out of the Kremlin script. He warned that sending Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine escalates the situation to nuclear war. Now, according to him, even Donald Trump understands this and is in no hurry to hand over lethal weapons, since, they could enable strikes deep into Russia.
Там Россия как раз говорят о том, что россияне, руководство России нацелены на то, чтобы установить мир. Никакие томагавки вопрос не решат. Это эскалирует ситуацию до ядерной войны. Наверное, это лучше всех понимает Дональд Трамп, который не спешит отдавать смертоносное это оружие и разрешать бить вглубь России, как на это рассчитывает президент Зеленский. Я полагаю, что Беларуси, как ближайшему союзнику России в вопросе разрешения украинского кризиса, а также выстраивания архитектуры региональной безопасности, отводится, как я уже сказал, определенная роль. Американцы в этом процессе нас увидели. У нас есть конкретные возможности, потенциал, я об этом только что сказал. Но кроме этого, сегодня мы имеем обширную повестку по другим актуальным вопросам. Следует учитывать, что на данный момент в отношении Беларуси со стороны Соединенных Штатов Америки и их союзников, особенно Европейского Союза, продолжают действовать санкции. Да, мы научились жить под давлением этих санкций, работать, хотя не без проблем, но они существуют. Они нам вредят, отвлекают нас от решения многих проблем.
Now, for anyone who doesn't speak fluent military hardware, here's the short version. The Tomahawk is a long-range cruise missile designed to hit fixed targets from hundreds, sometimes even thousands of kilometers away. It's not nuclear by default, it's a conventional high-precision weapon used against military and infrastructure targets. Meaning, sending Tomahawks doesn't automatically mean the world just flip to the nuclear phase. Now, for nuclear weapons to actually be used, a few small things need to happen first. Diplomatic channels have to collapse, the army has to face total disaster, or someone has to decide that it's their last resort. That's why Lukashenko's prophecy about inevitable nuclear war isn't really an analysis, it's just a performance. It's not a forecast, it's a signal, part of the information war, not the real one. A fresh, sensational story has bubbled up from the Russian information swamp. Now this time, propaganda channels are claiming that Ukrainian soldiers committed atrocities in the town of Sudzha in the Kursk region. And as always, the script is pretty much identical. Dramatic music, trembling voices, and scared incantation, according to a local resident.
Ну, расстреливали вот как только они вступили. Ехали машины и расстреливались, да.
То есть они не давали эвакуироваться мирным людям, получается?
Да. Он выезжал оттуда из Толстого Луга, а ездили через Малую Лугу.
И пытались уехать на Курск или куда они?
Да, так. Куда-то выехать.
Так.
Потребовали паспорт, тот не давал.
Украинцы, да?
Да.
Так.
А он не давал паспорт, ему укололи что-то.
Так.
И он погиб.
От этого, да?
Сразу в каждый дом заходили, раскрывали, разбивали все. В дом зайдешь после их, все раскидано, все вещи на полу валяются. Все пораскидано, одежда вся.
А что забирали украинцы?
Все подряд.
Ну, что больше?
Ну, и шубы, и те забирали все.
Now, to the facts. During the operation in the Kursk region, Ukrainian troops acted in accordance with international humanitarian law. And that's not a slogan. It's about actual compliance with the Geneva Conventions, which Russia also signed, though it now pretends to have misplaced the paperwork. Ukrainian units did not conduct combat actions against civilians, quite the opposite. The armed forces of Ukraine worked to minimize civilian casualties. Real footage from the front shows Ukrainians evacuating locals, not shooting everyone inside, as Moscow's bedtime story suggests. But this fake is just another example of Kremlin gaslighting. Ukraine is defending its territory while Russia is defending its television ratings. And while Ukrainian soldiers follow the laws of war, Kremlin propagandists fight only with microphones and imagination. But even on that front, their eyewitnesses keep forgetting their lines. Maybe because it's hard to stay serious when you're describing things that never happened. So Greta Thunberg has once again found herself at the center of a storm. Not over climate policy this time, but over a post. The activist, who usually warns the world about rising temperatures, managed to stir things up online with a different kind of heat, a controversial social media post. Wanting to show solidarity with Palestinians, Greta shared a set of images about the suffering of Palestinian prisoners. The intention seemed compassionate until a detail changed everything. See, in her post, she shared an image of Israeli hostage Eviatar David, kidnapped by Hamas on October 7, 2023, at the Nova Festival. Greta wrote, quote, "The suffering of the Palestinian prisoners is not a matter of opinion, but a fact of systemic cruelty." Adding, quote, "Justice has no borders." But the photo she used belonged to someone who had already endured real cruelty. Now, the hostage's sister, Yala David, also quickly called it out, saying that every minute that you don't delete this post make you a bigger laughingstock. It's a disgrace. So the point here isn't to crucify Greta. It's to show how even good intentions, need fact-checking. In an age of viral outrage, empathy without accuracy turns into its own form of carelessness. You can mean well and still cause harm if you skip the most basic step, checking what you're sharing. Because if the goal is justice, then truth can be optional. Strange times for Moscow's foreign friends. See, not long ago, European leaders were sipping champagne in Paris, shaking hands with Russian partners, signing gas deals like brothers, and smiling together at Davos. And today, sanctions, isolation, and no visa for you. In the Kremlin, a veteran KGB officer turned presidential aide Yuri Ushakov sits puzzled. How could this happen? Everything was fine for 20 years. We just invaded a little, bombed a little, kidnapped a few children, and suddenly, hatred. Can you believe it? Well, see, that's a classic Kremlin complaint, though. Ungrateful Europe. They don't appreciate Russia's contribution to culture. These missile-shaped murals on residential buildings, true Russian avant-garde. They don't get Russian humor when the punchline is an Iskander missile. And they still don't understand that this isn't a war, it's a special operation of love.
Киевский режим – это одно, а вот европейская оголтелая политика, американская сторона может как-то на нее повлиять?
Американцы могут, конечно, влиять, они и влияют, но там такая степень ненависти, я бы даже сказал, сплоченной ненависти европейцев в отношении России, что эту ненависть трудно пробурить, даже используя американский бур.
Чем вы объясните вот эту сумасшедшую действительно ненависть, которая вот за последние 4 года вот окончательно с такой силой вспыхнула? Перечеркнуть 20 лет вполне себе нормального взаимодействия, как-то это перевешивает, 20 лет, 4 года. Что с ними вдруг случилось?
Я не мог раньше, конечно, представить, что Европа в отношении России будет говорить одним голосом, причем крайне воинственным, крайне негативным в отношении нашей страны.
But the truth is much more simple. You see, for 20 years, Russia sold oil, gas, and corruption, and Europe, kind of bought it. Pretending politics and cheap energy could be separated from morality. Then reality hit. Europe watched tanks crossing borders and city erased from maps. It saw Bucha, Irpin, Mariupol. It heard the stories of Ukrainian children taken away for re-education. And that is when an illusion broke. What the Kremlin calls hatred is just Europe finally refusing to look away. It's not anger, it's just moral disgust. So, Comrade Ushakov, there's no great mystery here. Europe hasn't gone mad, it simply remembered what conscience feels like. Russia just can't recognize it anymore, and if the Kremlin still wants to know where all this hatred comes from, it should take a look in the mirror. Though, a fair warning, the reflection, it just might shoot back. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.